Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the channel, Pinpoint Fishing. Anyway, this video is going to be geared up to the beginners who wants to know how to fish with live bait, minnows, or shad. And if you're targeting crappie, sand bass, stripers, and catfish, this is a simple, easy setup. It's a double loop system with a 1 ounce weight, and you want to make sure you're fishing open water. You're running dual hooks. Do not fish in brush or structure. You're going to lose the fish and lose your rig. Well, anyway, this double loop system that we're going to be running, I prefer it in the winter time. A little bit of fall, probably start around Thanksgiving and work my way through about February. And then I'll change over to a single hook system because I'll be targeting brush piles and stand-ups if I'm not jig fishing. But anyway, I'm going to try to get through this. We got 30-40 mile an hour winds. It's coming through, rattling the doors, so I might be breaking my concentration. I'm supposed to be fishing today, but it just ain't in the cards. Last weekend it rained all weekend, and here we go again. And then this weekend, 34 mile an hour winds on Saturday and Sunday. Of course, naturally, we go back to work on Monday. It's going to be probably 5-10. It's going to be beautiful. But it is what it is, so it's a how-to video. So stay tuned. We're going to show you the setup. I have a 2000 series dial or rail. Really wind. Going to knock the doors down. You got the 8-foot jigging pole, braid line, 20 pound. You want the slick, smooth braid. You don't want any stiff braid. I really like to have the either Sulfix or the Power Pro Slick 8V2. We're going to tie a swivel to the main line. Yeah, right here. You can see that. Then we're going to tie a fluorocarbon leader, tie a loop knot, and we're going to retie this system. But I just want to show you before I cut it all off because it got a little mangled. This hook kind of got a little straightened out. Caught a lot of crappie, and usually the catfish will do the number on it. And then here's your second hook. And then we got our casting weight, and that's a 1 ounce weight. And that 1 ounce weight is very important. When you're fishing 30 foot of water or deeper, it's a bottom finder. It lets you know if you're fishing rock or mud. And it also triggers a bite. A lot of my fish, I'm bouncing that weight, or maybe drifting a little bit, stirring the mud up, kicking it, and crappie are laying down on bottom. If you know how to read your sonar, you'll recognize it. But a lot of guys think it's just the bottom. I'm telling you, a lot of times it's solid fish. If you pay attention to your depth readout and pay attention to what the sonar is actually truly showing you. And I showed a picture in the previous video, and if you look, it's like 2-3 foot of solid fish, and then below that was a hard bottom. But it all blends in, it looked like a solid bottom. In fact, there's so much fish there, when I dropped the double loop system, the dual minnows down in there, I lost sight of my bait because they're just so thick with fish. And it may be sand bass or crappie. Generally, crappie stack up like that down on the bottom, and the sand bass runs a little higher. So anyway, we're going to cut all this garbage off, and we're going to show you how I go about making this leader system. But I will tell you, this double loop knot that I'm doing, it's a simple, fast knot, but it's not the strongest knot. If you want to take time, I think there's a knot called a dropper knot or a dropper loop. That's probably the stronger knot, but this works. I've caught up to 12-pound blues. As long as you got your drag set loose, but enough to get a hook set, you're fine. They do more damage to the hooks. So every setting, I replace the leader and the hooks. That way when I go out, we're good to go. So we're back. So we're going to start out with the fluorocarbon leader. I like 12-pound test line. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the P line. The line that I like is sold out, and it's been sold out since the pandemic, so I had to settle what I could find on the shelf. But I prefer 12-pound test line because I'm fishing deep water. The water, they're not going to see the line, and it does fine getting big fish in. I think up to 8-pound bass, 12-pound blues, so it does okay. Here we go with the wind again. It's not going to give me a break. But anyway, here's what we do. Take one end of the line, and do a full stretch. Stretch your arms out. You're going to come up to the spool and cut it. now I just got this big line. It's probably 3.5, 4 foot. And the first thing I want to do is tie the swivel on. And the reason I do that is that I like a Palomar knot, get the full strength. I'm not a big fan of 12-pound test line and lighter lines down when you're doing like clinch knots and stuff like that. Anytime you have line wrapping in coils, you got to make sure you wet it, and there's too many things that go wrong, and the lighter the line, the more susceptible it is to degrade the line. With a Palomar knot, we're going to run it in and out the loop on one side of the swivel, and then we're going to make a granny knot. And then you're going to run the loop through the granny knot, grab the loop, and then we're going to take it over all of the knot and the swivel. You're going to pull a little bit, and this must be the tray now. And then always wet it. Pull, 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 and make sure the loops all come down together on the knot. Sometimes one loop will be up above. That looks pretty good. So now that's your Palomar knot. And then what I like to do is trim that tab in. The next thing I'm going to do is now we're going to tie it to the main line from our fishing pole. So this is the braided line, 20 pound. And again, we'll do the Palomar knot again. Line, run it through your swivel, and then pull about 3 or 4 or 5 inches out, something for you enough to work with. Then you're going to run it back through the eye of your swivel. You're going to create a loop, and you got to pinch that loop so you don't lose it. So now, there you go. Now you're going to take that loop and over these tabs, take that loop, go around, you're going to make that granny knot, push it through, and now you have the knot. Almost. So now you're going to take your 2 fingers, grab that leader, pull it through, and make sure the loops fall down below, and start easing up and pulling your braided line so that knot start coming up. And also you want to wet it. Sometimes you got to use your teeth if you can't. This line is very slick, but it looks like we got it. So it's going to look like that when it's all said and done. Clip the lead in, leave about 1/8 of an inch or so, no more than 1/4. Don't need a lot of line. Now, trick, putting the gold Aberdeen hook. So I'm using Eagle Claw, Aberdeen. These are going to be 2/0 size hook. The most important thing you can do here is take your line and the hook and make sure always goes in with the hook going up the line, like so. And then we're going to go about 12 to 14 inches away from the swivel. We're going to take and pinch both lines, hold them in your fingers. We're going to go over, and then in between, well, we can see that, go in between that line that's between your fingers. We're going to go 3 times. And that should be the 3rd time. And man, the wind's getting after it again. And then we're going to pinch the knot, wet it, and pull that knot down. We would want a 1/2, but no more than 1 inch loop. You don't want a big loop. There's roughly about 1 inch, maybe a pinch more, but that's okay. Now we're going to do the same thing with the second hook. Again, hook, line, go through the eye of the hook, pull it up, and anywhere from 12 to 14 inches from the other hook, but leave you enough room to put your fingers around it. So grab your hook, grab both lines, and then we're going to go around 2 fingers and then in the middle. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pinch the loop and then pull it, and then right before it gets tight, wet it, and there you go. And now we're ready to do this, the sinker. We'll grab the base of the line, 1 ounce weight. This one again, a Palomar knot. So slide it in, run the line back through the eyelet, grab the tag, make a little loop, do your granny knot again. Sometimes the line don't want to play nice. Run the loop through the hole, over the sinker, pull the loop up, and pull. So roughly 14, 15, 16 inches. The reason that's good is that I'll show you a little trick here in a second, how I stabilize sinker for carrying in or putting it in my boat. And we're going to trim the extra tab off. There you have it. And it's best if you have at least a minimum 8-foot pole. So now we got the first hook, got the second hook. You can take that second hook, hook it into your hook holder, reel it up, and then if you notice where my sinker falls, I want it to fall somewhere in this area. And you can take a rubber band or a Velcro strap, and what I like to do is just strap that dude down so it's not bouncing around in my boat, because when you have 4 or 5 poles running, these sinkers tend to bounce. So now it's secured, this hook secured, and now we got to secure this hook. How do I secure that hook? Simple. If you got some plastic worms, junk worms, cut maybe 2.5 inch, and it'll look something like this. So what I do is go completely through the worm, take it all the way up, like so, and then I'm going to take that worm, I'm going to wrap it around, and then I'm going to put the hook right through the center. So now it's secured, hook is not exposed, it's rubber. I wasn't going to use that worm anyway. And then the next thing, have your rod sleeve. It's designed for your spinning reels. They have different diameters. Don't get the skinny one because it won't work on a spinning reel. What we're going to do is slide that dude over. So if you notice, there was that hook in there, but it won't hook into my material. And now I can put all my poles together. I can have 8 poles, 6 poles, and they won't have a mess when I get to the lake. So that's pretty it, and that's my go-to rig for open water wintertime fishing. For stripers, I'll tend to go to 1 hook, and big blues 1 hook. But for crappie and sandies, if the bite's finicky, I may go to a smaller hook and smaller bait. But man, this is a phenomenal setup. I've got more striper, sand bass, and crappie on this setup in wintertime. And also one more thing, when you hook your bait, always hook them through the lips. Don't hook them in the back. You have a lot of resistance. It doesn't look natural. And one thing I like about this setup is that you can jig that 1 ounce weight on the bottom, and it'll keep that hook out, and it got real quick action. If you tie a real long loop knot that's about yay long, you're not going to get the action. It's just going to float. But with this smaller loop knot, and you can jig it, man, you can get some action going. And it's a deadly combination for wintertime fishing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Click the like and share button and subscribe, and we'll have a lot more go-to videos. And hopefully we'll get back on the water and catch some fish. We just need the weather to cooperate. But anyway, enjoy. Have a blessed day.